Go.
Hello, everyone, and welcome to the Tell It to the Dead podcast. And I'm your host, RMT, and you're coming to you from the headquarters of the Tell It to the Dead Forum. We're going to spend the next hour discussing all things Walking Dead, including recapping last week's great episode, yes, which was Richonne centric. And during the discussion, we will also cover and kind of preview tonight's episode, Bury Me Here. So, all right, someone's having dogs that are freaking that out. But anyway, we're joined today by Candy, Mama, Swan, Forever Michonne, Autumn, and Luna, all from the Tell It to the Dead forum. I want to thank all you ladies for joining us. And I'm going to go ahead and just start this off, and we'll start our discussion with, so what did you think about Father Gabriel's talk with Rosita? And what about Rosita and Sasha's potential team up? And I think I'm going to pick on my girl Mama first and then get her thoughts.
Well, the conversation with Rosita and Father Gabriel, I think was Rosita's way of making herself feel better by blaming him, and because I think she does feel guilt. And as annoyed as I am with Rosita these days, that kind of came through for me, that she feels very guilty about causing Spencer and Olivia's death, and then, well, Spencer's was indirectly, but and then having Eugene taken. One of my favorite lines from the episode actually came out of that scene where Father Gabriel, who handled Rosita absolutely beautifully, he said, "Anything is possible until your heart stops beating." And I thought that was just a beautiful line, and that really stuck with me. So, yeah, I mean, I thought the scene was great with Gabriel. Again, Rosita's annoying me, so I could have done without it, but I saw that for what it was. And then Rosita and Sasha's suicide mission is just tragedy waiting to happen. Basically, there's no way that it's going to succeed. They're going up against hundreds of hardened people, and it's going to fail. And I think one or both of them is going to. So on that happy note, next.
Well, I'll just add that I know we're talking about Rosita, but I did enjoy the Father Gabriel piece of it all, like his growth as a character. And he has become, unfortunately, I'm thinking a little bit about Herschel, but kind of the moral compass that the characters are now coming to get guidance in this world. And it scares me a little bit for Father Gabriel that he's taking on this role, but I really like where he's his character arc over the past few seasons. What about you, Candy? Your thoughts on Rosita and Gabriel's discussion?
I think that scene was to show us that Rosita has lost all her logic. Anger is making her stupid because she's made this leap to blame Gabriel for everything. Well, if I just killed him when I wanted to kill him, or just killed myself, then Olivia wouldn't be dead. It just doesn't make sense, and it just goes to that theme of anger makes you stupid, and stupid gets other people killed. And now she's playing the blame game. As for Sasha and Rosita, I kind of hate that they kind of foreshadowed that this is going to be the end game for one of them. And the fact that we haven't seen that much Sasha really makes me want it to be Rosita and not Sasha. So I hope it goes that way, but I doubt it, because Sonequa was cast in Star Trek. So
yeah, I'm the same way with you on that one. I mean, we've seen a lot of Rosita. And we know that Christian's pregnant, but I mean, they've written around pregnancies before, but with Sasha having a new leading role, no less, I'm scared that her days are numbered. Swan, what about you?
What was I gonna say? What you were saying about Gabe becoming the moral compass for the group. I've been rewatching the show. I was rewatching from like season 3 to now, and just like something I do really like about just Father Gabriel is that he has found a way to like keep his faith through all of this. Like when he says that they were praying for God to save them when the zombie when like the Walker herd broke through, and then like God gave them the courage to do it themselves. I really like that, and just also just like what he's been able to do for the group. And then Rosita blaming Father Gabriel and saying that if she had killed Negan, then it would have been over is actually pretty interesting, because she even said herself in season 6 that that like if you do something wrong or something like that, that you will then have to live with the deaths of other people. Like she said it to Eugene when he was interrupting her teaching everyone how to use weapons, like all the Alexandrians. So I guess maybe like, because in that way it almost seems like they're just writing her out of character, and it's weird, especially when you saw her how she was before, like defending Tara and everything when she had just met her. But maybe it is just her grieving.
Well, also how she blamed Father Gabriel when she actually did take a shot at Negan, and she missed.
She just missed, and that blew
So-
me, because she was right in front of his face.
Right.
You're telling me he had time to put his bat up? He had time to put Lucille in front of his face when she went to shoot, and that she was like, "Oh no, a bat!" Like,
so yeah, so she's she's kind of bad all around. Autumn, what about you? What were your thoughts about Rosita and Gabriel's exchange?
To me, it just kind of showed how has really come full circle. Like I was just thinking back to how hated he used to be when he first, the group first got to Alexandria, and him pretty much ratting out the group and stuff like that. And he's become such a beautifully well-rounded character, now sticking up for the group and everything. But I agree with everything he told her. Rosita has become kind of comical to me now. Like, for me, it went through stages. At first, it was like, oh, well, she's being a bitch and that's getting on my nerves, to, I don't care, to now, like, I just laughed because she's like, it's your fault. I'm like, really? Like, you had your shot, you missed, get over it. And the whole thing with her and Sasha, it kind of is foreshadowing the same thing to me, like the same thing that I said last week, that she's going to end up getting Sasha killed. I really feel like that's going to happen. She's going to end up doing something stupid, or maybe Sasha might sacrifice herself for Rosita. I mean, I think that'll be kind of out of character, but I don't know. But I just feel like she's going to get Sasha killed eventually.
Yeah, I think we're all kind of in agreement on that one, unfortunately. Forever Michonne mentioned she loved Father Gabriel's patience with Rosita. It reminds her a bit of Eastman. He knows a lot about how somebody can change in the zombie apocalypse. And Rosita is canceled for blaming everybody, though. And I'm in agreement. Like, Gabe was the shining piece of that whole exchange, because kind of now, unfortunately, when Rosita speaks for me, I start to zone out, because she's just so mean to everybody else, and she's acting like she's the only one who's ever lost anything, and she's very reactionary, and she's not thinking through any of the things that she's doing that's causing potential harm to the other groups. So I'm going to go ahead and go on to another scene. So what did you guys think of Tara's monologue with Judith and her ultimate decision to tell Rick about Oceanside? I will just say that I love when I see baby Judith every chance I get, and it's always good to see her. I'll start with Candy.
I like the scene for purpose of we actually get to see what the character is thinking. Usually we just see the character act. We don't know why they did what they did. And I do like seeing Judith be kind of a sounding board. She doesn't know what Tara's saying, but she can feel emotions. This goes back to season 4, I believe, when Beth says Judith senses emotions. And I think she sensed Tara's inner turmoil, and it brought clarity to Tara. But I do have a problem with Tara giving a little baby a necklace. I'm afraid she's gonna choke on it or something.
Hey, this is Judith. She's a tough cookie. And I gotta say, now you have me picturing Judith like baby Yoda. Like everybody,
God.
she's so sage and she's tiny and compact, and everybody's a sounding board off of her. But all right, what about you, Mama?
Yeah, I thought it was a good scene. And what I loved about it is I hope now it can reassure every viewer or fan that was so concerned about Judith and who's watching Judith. And is Judith some type of neglected child? So look, she's being cared for by Tara. Isn't that nice? So I did have that thought, like, she's happy, she's playing. But yeah, I thought the scene was nice to kind of hear the struggle, the moral struggle that Tara's going through. I mean, obviously she came to a decision after the exchange at the junkyard. She figured they need the guns, and we'll see how that plays out. But I thought it was a sweet scene.
And I think it's funny, Mama, when you mentioned people worried about baby Judith, because guess what? Baby Judith is going to be around like cockroaches and rats. It's her babysitters that die. That's who they really need to be concerned about.
That's right. Look out, Tara.
Exactly. Your number's up. Autumn, what about your thoughts?
I thought it was a sweet scene. I don't know. I've been seeing a lot of people that think that scene was empty, but I got a lot from it. I'm with you too, Auntie. Like whenever I see Judith, whoever cast those twins, because I heard it was twins, did a great job, because this set of babies, like they have so much emotion in their face. It's great. I loved it.
I love those babies, and I remember when because they're the babies from season 6, and I remember all through the hiatus between 6 and 7, that is all I wanted in my life, was to have the season 6 Judy's back. And when I got that, my excitement was it was uncomparable. I love those babies. They give the best side eye, stank eye. They just
do
so much attitude. They're the best.
I feel like that's super realistic for how Judith would be in right now, since she literally was born and is growing up in a zombie apocalypse, that she would just be over it all the time.
That's her current state.
Like Negan, that was iconic when her and Carl were giving just brother sister side eye to Negan.
That was great.
It was.
And you can keep on going,
okay.
Swan. What about your thoughts?
But yeah, I thought it was really cute, and I liked it because it also makes sense that if she was going to have that conversation, it could only be with Judith. Like she can't talk to anybody else about it. And Judith is literally just there hanging out. She'll listen just because she literally can't do anything else. She's got nothing else going on. She's playing with some red Solo cups. That's all. But yeah, and it also just like makes sense for her to be going through that inner turmoil because of the fact that like we saw that episode, just like how adamant Oceanside was about no one knowing of who they are and no one coming after them because they lost everyone. I'm just afraid of what will happen once Rick finds out, if he'll try to force them to join, or like if he'll understand the situation, or just like depending on how they react.
And that's one of my big concerns too, because unfortunately I forgot the character's name in Oceanside that let Tara live. Cindy, I think it was Cindy.
Oh, like what will happen to her?
Right, because they spared Tara's life, and I don't want Team Family to come across as the bad guys, like coming, attacking, and taking their guns. So I really just hope that whatever happens with Oceanside, it's done right, because at the end of the day, I know Team Family makes hard decisions, but to me, they are the good guys. So I just really want them to be tactful and approach Oceanside in a good manner.
Right. Quick question. Here, this kind of bothered me since that episode, that Tara episode. Were they letting her go? Or was it an ambush? Like, was it a setup? They were actually going to kill her? Or was it just that girl that was going to kill her?
Mama, can you or someone else help us out? That's probably one of my least favorite episodes that I've truly only watched once.
Me too.
To keep her, but then
Yeah.
I feel like she escaped, and then Cindy found her and let her go. I believe the character's name was Cindy.
Yeah, it was just that character that let
Yeah.
her go.
Right.
She found her and let her go.
Anybody else want to chime in?
Yeah, that's the way. Again, I only watched it once myself, but she escaped, and then Cindy had tracked her down and let her go. And so this is definitely a betrayal, of Cindy. And the head of that group is assuming that Tara is dead.
Okay.
So it'll be high drama when they return.
Yeah, like I said at the end of the day, I hope it's done right, because to me, our group of people are the good guys, and I prefer when they don't have to make such moral ambiguous decisions. So, okay, and then I will add, so Big Cat couldn't join us, but she did send us a message with some of her thoughts, and she said it was nice to see characters working through their internal conflict. And since Tara was going over whether to tell Team Family about Oceanside, it made sense for her to work it out with Judith. It was a cute scene, and it was nice not to have to discern Tara's motivations using tea leaves or something. And I'm going to have to agree with Big Cat there. The Walking Dead over the seasons has become more action oriented. So a lot of times you do miss out on the character development and what a character's motivation was. So when they take these small moments, I'm actually a fan of it, because I like to see that side of it. And I feel like we're missing some of that sometimes with the stories. And Luna said that she really enjoyed the monologue. It really showed the turmoil that Tara was feeling. She knows that Rick and Team Family need the guns, but they're having to basically hurt another group of people to survive. That's a really tough choice to make. She made a promise to Cindy, and she's going to have to break it. And again, Luna, that's where I'm having the problem with as well. And at the same time, most of Oceanside tried to kill Tara, so maybe it's not such a horrible decision. And maybe I'm siding with Oceanside, because I would have been okay if they killed Tara.
Oh,
I know.
Nice.
Tara's growing on me now. So, and then just as a reminder for those viewing us live on YouTube, if you have any questions or comments, please share in the chat. We are looking at them as well, and we hope to share them during our podcast. So, all right, well, go ahead.
Oh, but someone asked the question, why do people think Rick will automatically attack when he didn't do that at Hilltop or the Kingdom? I don't think he would automatically attack. I'm just worried about, like, if he'll be hostile if they say no, for example. Like, if he'll just be trying, like, really hard to persuade them. I don't think he would, because, like, I don't think Rick would, like, try to, like, steal from them or attack them, but I do think he would be pretty weary about the fact that if they like don't want to, like, which is completely justifiable if they don't want to.
Yeah, like Rick,
like attack.
Rick is trying to be diplomatic, but he's also kind of have a hair trigger, and we're getting ready to move into the Richonne topic of this episode anyway. And one of my favorite scenes was when Jadis had the audacity to ask for the cat back, and I thought Rick was gonna just knock her out right there. So, I mean, Rick always has to do a balancing act with his temper and try to be diplomatic. And that's what Michonne's there for. Yeah. She kind of helps temper him as well.
Like with Jesus, when Jesus said to give them like a few days, and Michonne was the one that was like you can have a few days, and Rick just looked pissed as hell at that answer, but didn't say anything.
Yeah, he's like, fine, my queen. Yes, that's one of my favorite scenes. So, all right, so going on, let's talk about Richonne. This was as close as we got to a Richonne Bottle episode, so I enjoyed it greatly. And the first thing, let's talk about that beautiful Chili Mac scene. I never thought I would use the word beauty and Chili Mac in the same sentence, but there it is. So the Chili Mac scene was it a proposal? And what can we expect of Rick and Michonne reordering the world together? And I'm going to call on Autumn first for that question.
I believe it was a proposal. As soon as that scene came up and he was talking to her and he basically said, I want that if that's something you want. I thought it was a proposal. I was giddy. I was jumping up and down. It was great. As far as what we can expect from them, maybe a baby down the line. I don't know. After all this mess is settled. And basically, what we would expect from them anyway, just being badass together. That's pretty much it.
I have to say, I'm one of those that believe it was a proposal. It started out with Michonne talking about the future, because Michonne is always a character that actually thinks about the future and actually wants them to live. And she wanted Rick to lead. She thought Rick was going to be a great leader. And then Rick kind of turned it around on her and said it's actually not something he's interested in doing unless she does it by his side. I forget his exact words, but that was pretty much a proposal. And will you marry me and also be my queen and run the zombie apocalypse together?
Crying.
I'm sorry, that's how that's where I am with it. And I think they as a team would just be, perfect together. Mama, your thoughts?
Yeah, I obviously love the scene. And one of the many reasons I loved it is that it really, it's one of those quiet moments that all of us Richonne fans just want so badly, is to see those little quiet moments between them. The action's great, but let's see how they interact with each other. And it was so beautiful to see how comfortable they were with each other and just enjoying food and drink, and it was romantic. And I loved seeing Michonne give Rick her faith that he can lead. And I couldn't help but think back to season 2 when nobody had faith in him. He couldn't do anything right. And until finally at the end of season 2, he's just like, screw you guys. I'm in charge and deal with it. And to see how far he's come, that here's this wonderful woman basically saying you should lead, and he probably respects her more than anybody in the world, and what that must have done, to him, to hear her say that, and then to have him turn around and say, well, I want to do this together. That's really Rick coming full circle. So he doesn't want to be alone. He doesn't want to lead alone. He wants somebody by his side, and that person is Michonne. And I absolutely believe if it wasn't an official proposal, we were certainly supposed to think this is as close to a proposal as we're going to get, because he basically said, the future is with you at my side, and that's it. And it was just absolutely beautiful. Loved it.
And Mama, it has to be a proposal, because in interviews, Andy and Greg Nicotera referred to this episode as a honeymoon. And that's how Rick looked at it, as a honeymoon. So I feel like he proposed, Michonne said yes, and now they were honeymooning the rest of the time.
And he didn't want to go home. He wanted to keep honeymooning.
Nope. Judy's got everything taken care of at home. No need to worry about anything. What about you, Candy? What did you think about the Chili Mac proposal?
I kind of agree with Yvette Nicole Brown when she said it was a proposal, then the marriage. Because I kind of felt like it was, he proposed, then they said, yeah, she said, I do. They got married, and then they had their honeymoon. So I do believe it was a proposal, but I also believe there was probably the closest thing we'll get to a wedding too. Maybe I'm wrong about that. Maybe they'll start the reordering of the world with a big celebration that includes a wedding. And I love the fact that he's always been presented as the reluctant leader. He doesn't want to lead. He just does it out of necessity. But now he's like, well, she has so much faith in me. I'll ha- I want to show her that I have faith in her. She's a good leader too, and I cannot do this without her. And that's to me what he was saying about he would not lead without her. He know I think he knows, and he gets kind of upset that Michonne doesn't see herself as a leader, and he sees that in her. She sees that in him, and he wants her to believe that they can do it together. And I hope the show doesn't skip the reordering part after the war, because I kind of want to see them try to build this new community that they have. It's a big part of Michonne's character. She's always looking to the future. She really wants this, and I think the show would do us injustice if they just skip over it.
So, and I have to say, we talked a little bit about Michonne not seeing herself as a leader, and I've always found that interesting because she really, maybe she doesn't realize she does, but she's actually been leading them for a while. I mean, when you go all the way back to season 5 and the distance and what's happening, what's going on. She was telling them they needed to go to DC. They needed to get out from under the wall. They needed to be civilized again. She was leading the charge. And even within Alexandria, like the plans and all the next steps, even though Maggie was like kind of being groomed to take over that role, it was really Michonne that was taking the lead. So it's always interesting how I guess she views herself and how other people don't see it. But she's a leader. She's a quiet leader. She's not in your face about it. But I would say, I mean, other than Rick, she's the one that has led this group over the past few seasons the most. Would you guys agree with me on that?
Yes, and I think they kind of showed it in season 5 when they had Rosita go to her about Sasha. I kind of wish we had more moments like that where we see people actively seeking her out as a leader. And I think the biggest problem is Michonne just thinks she's practical. She's not leading people. She's just thinking of practical solutions, and she's enforcing them. And that's probably why she doesn't see herself as a leader.
Thank you. And then, Swan, what were your thoughts on the Chili Mac proposal and their future together?
Yeah, like that was definitely a proposal. Like he pretty clearly said that, like he pretty clearly put it like, will you like basically rule the zombie apocalypse with me? Like, will you be by my side? Like, just it was like a proposal, and also, yeah, like a marriage at once. Like it was a proposal and also his wedding vow.
Ooh,
his wedding vow
that.
about the zombie apocalypse and ruling and her being his queen. Like it was a wedding vow. And yeah, and like Michonne, she like and what I love too about Michonne is that you see her when it comes to leading people on a much more personal level, because you see, of course, like you see Rick like overall like leading a group, but then you'll see Michonne like with her scenes with Sasha and like her scene with Heath. I just rewatched season 6, so I also just am like remembering all of this right now. But like with her scene also with Heath, when Heath was saying like, well, Rick said that like basically like just separated between us and them, and she was the one that was like, Glenn is out here trying to save you guys. I'm here for you guys. Like and she like straight up told him, no, you actually haven't been through anything, because he always had a place to go back to. Like he, like how she said, like, have you ever been covered in like so much blood? You don't know like whose blood it is. And it's like she has a way of getting through to people and getting them to understand and be on her side. And that's something that like, I feel like Rick could possess that too, but he just is very much more on like, you need to do this, Warren, you understand we need to do this. And Michonne probably thinks, yes, and she probably sees herself as just being practical, but that's so essential. It's the zombie apocalypse, and we see everybody wiling out all the time doing dumb shit. So it's like so important that she is like this practical and like practical person that thinks through everything, and like no, typically other than like 7A, but that's when everyone wasn't sure what to do. Yeah.
So, and then I'm just going to go actually into our YouTube chat, and Absolute Trash said, I think the cutest thing about the scene was that Rick was almost kind of hesitant, nervous about posting the question. That is why I think it was a proposal. And I totally agree with you, Absolute Trash. I was talking in our forum last week about it, and it reminded me almost of like a prom scene where he was asking her to the prom or a hand in marriage. He was actually a little nervous and shy about it. I believe he kind of looked down, and it was so cute how Michonne responded and said yes, and then Rick got the biggest smile on his face. So I think we're all in agreement. And Mad Hatter, also watching us live, thank you. He said that Rick was eating mac and cheese and Michonne was eating chili. So the chili mac and cheese symbolized them coming together. And who's not going to now have a wedding and serve chili mac and cheese? So with that, I'm going to also just share some thoughts. Forever Michonne says she thought it was a proposal, more like a promise that after this was all over, they would rule together and be together for as long as this world will let them. At the time, they weren't entertaining the fact that they could lose each other. I think they'll entertain the idea of marriage more after the war is over. The episode is called Say Yes for more than one reason. Luna thinks that Rick knows that he wouldn't be there where he is now without her. They'd still be in the barn crushing acorns with guns and whatnot. And in agreement with you there as well, Luna. And then I'm going to also share Big Cat's thoughts since she's not with us. Yes, let's see. Yes, it was a proposal to build a life together and build the world in their image, basically. Sort of Adam and Eve-esque scene, and that kind of also circles back to the apple scene Rick and Michonne had towards the end of season 6 and the whole Garden of Eden metaphor. So I think it does tie into they are the ones that are going to rebuild the zombie apocalypse world in their image, and it'll be a beautiful thing. So, okay, well, thanks guys for that part of the discussion. And now we're going to talk, we're going to go sad, and we're going to kind of discuss Michonne's reaction to Rick's death. She completely shut down. She was in shock. She was devastated. But there has been some debate on whether or not her reaction to his death was in character. So I'm going to love to hear you guys' thoughts on that. And I'm going to start with Mama.
Yeah, it was absolutely in character, without a doubt. She had just been, on a high with Rick. They ruled the world. They were getting the guns. All was going well, joking with each other. And I mean, they were literally just joking with each other about how many walkers they killed seconds earlier. And then to think that she lost him and he's being consumed in front of her, I'm positive that brought back terrible memories of how she lost her son, and she just went into shock. And at the same time that she's in this shock state, she is just overwhelmingly grieving, and she dropped the sword. I don't believe she was suicidal. I think she would have, she was backing away from the walkers. I think she was just processing. I just lost the man that I love, and I'm my heart's breaking, and she was just in shock and grief. But I don't want to get into debates with people, but if you truly think that she would automatically just jump into slash and hack mode, she's not a robot. She is a woman with a heart, and her heart was broken in that scene. So I think it definitely was in character for her to stand there like that.
And Mama, I'll say that I'm one of those people who I love the scene as a whole in the ending, but I was one of those people who was kind of having trouble with it initially. And when I think back on it now, I'm thinking kind of about how we've seen Michonne as a character. Like, we never saw her grief after Andre died. So she's always just been this almost mythical badass superhero that can kind of separate her emotions and just do what needs to be done. And I think I'm one of those people where when I first saw that scene, it was kind of hard for me because I kind of couldn't imagine it. Like, don't get me wrong, I know how much she loves Rick, but it was kind of hard marrying, 3 or 4 seasons of what she is, and then finally seeing her so completely vulnerable and exposed. I think for some of us, well, for me, who was kind of initially having a problem with the scene, it was kind of shocking for me. And I think maybe some people that might be the issue, but I mean, I totally get it. She's totally in love with him. He brought her out of the funk and the loss and all the grief she had before. And they just had this discussion about what the new world would look like and that they would do this together. So to go from such a beautiful, euphoric moment to losing Rick, I know had to be totally devastating for her. Candy, your thoughts on that scene? And if it was out of character or not?
I don't think it was out of character. I've been looking to see Michonne be more vulnerable for a while now. I think it was part of that scene was shock at Rick possibly dying, but I also think it's shock that she actually miscalculated. Because at this point, she doesn't think walkers are a threat. And for Rick to actually die from walkers, I don't think she's ever thought about actually losing Rick. First of all, first off, and then Rick dying from walkers. I think everything just was shocking. She couldn't process it. And I don't know if I won't say she was suicidal, but I just say that she wasn't fully functional at the time. But she was backing up. I think if they got close enough, she probably would have picked up her katana and killed the walkers. But we don't know because Rick jumped out of the box just in time. I
Yeah.
kind of wish he would have used the katana. He just used it to hit somebody, but I thought he was actually going to kill a zombie with it. I thought that would have been cool.
I
But
was
oh
actually
well.
expecting that myself. I want to see Rick take a swing at it, and I want to see Michonne hold the python. I would love for both of them to use each other's weapons eventually. Maybe we'll get that in season 8. Autumn, what were your thoughts? Did you think Michonne's reaction was out of character?
No, I don't think it was out of character for Michonne to do that. I was just thinking about like you ladies were her character and how we've never seen her be this vulnerable before, so it's kind of hard to decipher whether or not it's authentic to her character or not. So I understand the dissension there, but I think it was a part of it was true to her character because Michonne shuts off and she shuts down like in the beginning before we seen her. She said, I was a monster, I shut down and everything else. And I don't think she realized, like, she knew we were going to war, we're gonna win after we kill Negan, this is what's gonna happen. And she couldn't see her life or her future without him. So there was no plan for that. She just never thought about it before. So she kind of froze up. So I thought it was in character for her, most definitely.
All right, and Swan, your thoughts?
Yeah, like I agree with that. Like we've seen multiple times the way that the way she reacts to something that is so emotionally devastating, and how a lot of people react is that they just completely shut down as a person. Like shut off their emotions, shut off everything. So it makes complete sense that when she thought he was dead, that she did just shut off immediately because she had already lost her son, and that's what happened to her, and she was just literally like dead woman walking. And then when she like the same thing with Andrea, like she like couldn't cope with that, like when Andrea shot herself. So we've seen before just like how she operates like when something devastating happens to her, but I guess some people take it as her just instead of that being her grieving like her like mechanism, people take it as her just separating those feelings, like what was said previously, when it's really just that is how a lot of people react to something like that is truly just too heartbreaking. And then yeah, I also liked what I think it was Candy brought up about like oh shoot, I forgot what it was that I was gonna say. It's fine.
Okay.
But yeah, like she yeah, I drew a blank.
Okay.
So I'm done.
All right. Well, that's good. Thanks, Swan. So Luna also shared that the moment was for Michonne to show how she would react if she lost Rick. Michonne is human. She has feelings. She's not a mindless killing machine. Michonne loves this man, and they were just talking about reordering the world together the night before, so she didn't know that that deer was there, so it makes sense for her to assume it was Rick. And then Forever Michonne says, yes, it was in character. She was on cloud nine and then had to process that her lover was no longer alive. I think she would have allowed herself to, I think she wouldn't have allowed herself to be bitten, but like Rick was alluding to in the van, Michonne is in the headspace that she wouldn't lose Rick right now, even though she processed it mentally, emotionally, she hadn't. And then finally, Big Cat also said that yes, this is a character who could not open the door to face Andre's death, who shut down completely after her son died, who almost went back to wandering like a walker after the prison fell, who fell asleep in Alexandria, who panicked in fear when Rick walked out into the herd in 609. Michonne reacts to trauma by shutting down. She was dreaming of a future and wanting to build a life with Rick. Then suddenly he was gone. Her whole future, everything she was working towards was gone. She also did not want to come back the person she had been, the person who just survives but is emotionally dead. And Rick had a big part in bringing her out of that. In that moment, she just saw that she thought was her lover being devoured, and she could not handle that reality. Had she survived, if Rick had actually died, she might have pulled it together and carried on for the kids and the others. But in that moment, all she saw was the man she loved and her future being pulled apart by a monster. Very beautiful words, Big Cat. So, okay, so now on to our next question, which is we're now going to look at Rick's response to Michonne's breakdown, because he saw her, completely shut down, drop the sword. And then the other scene that I really loved that was beautiful was when they were picking up all the guns in the field, and he saw her, which she thought she was privately doing, bent over and crying and, trying to process what had happened to Rick. So, when they were in the van, Rick pulled over and gave one of his little Ricky pep talk speeches. And he started out saying, I could have gone a couple more days. I would have liked it. I haven't been sleeping, thinking about what we lost, thinking about my friends. Glenn saved me right at the start. I couldn't save him. And then he talked about how they have to continue to fight, and that about the future being more than just the two of them. And I want to know what you guys thought the meaning behind Rick's speech was. Like, was he trying? Was this a pep talk? What was the motivating factor? What was he trying to get Michonne to see by this little speech he gave? And I'm going to start with Autumn.
I think what Rick was trying to get through to her was that, you are a leader. And if I don't make it, basically what he said is, if I don't make it, somebody's going to have to pick up where we left off. And all of this can't be for naught. It kind of paralleled the scene in, what was that, 709, 708, where Michonne was talking to him, basically giving him a similar speech. You know, we have to fight for our future, and that this is not a game. This is war. And even if I don't make it, you have to carry on for everybody else, in my memory and in the spirits of everybody that we've lost, or it would be all for nothing. So I thought it was a very powerful scene.
Yeah, I did as well. And Mama, what do you think Rick's message was for trying to
Uh,
get across with?
yeah, I absolutely love this scene. There was so much behind it, and I couldn't help but think back to, when the series first started, and he was looking for his family, and seasons 1, 2, 3, all he cared about was keeping his family and his close friends safe, never really thinking beyond just each day as they came. And then through knowing Michonne and loving her and um, having a different perspective, because like all of you have said, she's always thinking of the future and the greater good, and she's brought that out of him. So I looked at that speech as really him saying, look, you brought me here. I can lose you, you can lose me. And I know some people had a hard time hearing that, but really what he's saying is that she has brought him to a place where he can think of the greater good. He can think of the future, the children, the future generations, that it's more than just the two of them. And that's real growth for Rick, because previously he was really just about, I mean, not just, his family and the immediate people in his circle. And now Michonne's helped him grow to where he can see communities coming together and people that he might not even know. But it's up to him and Michonne to lead this battle. And I also looked at it as he was kind of giving himself a pep talk, because when you're going into war, if you go in, you can't go in there blind. You've got to go into a war thinking, I could die. And I accept that. And I'm going in with eyes wide open. So he's basically giving himself a pep talk, and her, by saying, yeah, we could lose each other. We could both go on, but we've got to go into this war and give it our all and pick up the pieces, if one of us falls. So I thought it was a very moving scene. And Andy nailed it, as he always does, and Denai was great. But yeah, it was definitely one, if not my favorite scene in the show.
And just another just props to Andy and Denai again. Like when they went canon full on couple, I did not think we were just going to get all the lovely, like they're great actors, but they like the way they've embraced this romance, and even the little scenes they give us in the background when it's not about them. Like them as a couple is just everything that I had hoped for. Like I have no complaints when it comes to Richonne the couple. They're just awesome, and the way that they portray them on the screen is just beautiful. Candy, your thoughts on Rick's speech?
I really don't have too much to add. That scene kind of buried me. I was pretty much gone after that. I do think he was trying to be realistic. Like, think about, he mentioned Glenn. Glenn was the escape artist, always almost dying, always getting out of it. Glenn helped him survive, and he couldn't help Glenn survive. So I think that was a eye opener that yes, I can lose Michonne, and he's been preparing to lose Michonne since the premiere. He's been preparing to lose his whole family. That's why he was trying to toe the line with Negan. He figured out that didn't work because Spencer and Olivia both died. So now he's just trying to do what the best he can to make sure that everyone comes out okay. It They're going to war. That's not going to be the case. Somebody's going to die. There will be more casualties. And Michonne, she's been practical, but she's been a little impractical about this. She hasn't thought about that. You kind of see when Rick tells her that she can lose him, and she kind of jerks away from him because she's not hearing that. She doesn't want to hear that, and she just doesn't want to accept that. And I think That's what Rich trying to do. He's trying to prepare her. He thinks he can lose her because he look at it realistically. He still has kids he has to live for. But I think that line is going to come back and haunt him. I hope it does. And he sees that it's not about being practical. Yes, you can see the greater good. Yes, you can see a future, but sometimes your emotions are just, you become overloaded with your emotions and you just lose your will to live. And or so that's all I have on that scene.
And I'll just add that Mama had mentioned that some people were kind of upset with Rick when he said, I can lose you, you can lose me. But they were talking about the bigger picture and rebuilding the world and having to be stronger than that. And just the day before, they talked about ruling and creating a new world. So it just assumes that they would have to move on if something happened to the other. And it's one thing for your mind to know this, it's another thing for you emotionally and for your heart to actually come to terms with that. And I think Rick was thinking logically, but I don't think Rick can actually cope with something happening.
Yes, because he mentions Judith and Glenn and Maggie's baby specifically. Like,
Yeah.
we have to keep going because of them. So, yeah, he's thinking logically, but I don't know if it will actually come to pass. That
Yeah.
he will actually grieve her and still move on.
And Swan, your thoughts on Rick's speech and what he was trying to get across to Michonne?
Yeah, like what everyone else has been saying. Like him saying that he can lose her and she can lose him. Like I don't like wasn't like him being like, oh, it's like whatever, I can lose you. It was more like it is a possibility and it's something that we will both have to live with if it happens to one or the other. Um and I can understand, like, I understand Michonne being so just like upset at him saying you can lose me, like, because it's just the stuff that Rick has survived and has like him and along like with Michonne. Like, this is the man who, when he had no weapons to save Michonne and Carl, he bit out the man's jugular instead. Like, the stuff like Rick has done to survive is stuff that is really unimaginable for a lot of people, and stuff. And so it's just something that it would be very hard to come to terms with the fact that someone like Rick or even someone like Michonne could die. And yeah, that's something that I think will definitely like come back to haunt him, because if it does, then it'll show him that like he can't lose her. It was easy to say, but that's something that absolutely he cannot do. And I know that he definitely knows that he can't lose her, but it maybe was also more of him trying to tell himself as well that he can and it's a possibility, and trying to be okay with that. But he's not okay with losing anyone. Like, and yeah, he's especially, he wasn't okay with losing Glenn, and Glenn's my sweet boy. Like, I'm still upset. And yeah, like the fact that, and it's just, there's nothing he really could have done anyway to save Glenn. Like, if he had gotten out of line, doesn't matter, already would have been hit. Like,
yeah, we already know what happened when you got out of line. Daryl. Oh my God, we both coughed at the same time. So yeah, all right. So to wrap up this episode, I would like to get everybody's thoughts on what was your favorite moment that we haven't already discussed. So I'd love to hear another favorite moment from Say Yes that wasn't, the Chili Max scene or Rick's almost death scene. There was a lot of great Richonne moments. So I'd love some highlights of some of the other moments. And I'll start with Mama.
Yeah, I loved all of the cute, funny, bantery scenes were awesome. And one of the ones that I wrote about on the forum was when Rick was basically saying to Michonne when the walkers had all come into the carnival grounds, and he's like, or we could go, like basically, you want to stay or you want to go. And the way she rebutted that, like, yeah, we're not going anywhere. We got this. It was very almost like a and I don't want to use the word buddy, but like a cop buddy movie. Like I saw all the Lethal Weapon movies, and it really was like that. But of course, with sexy romantic couple instead of two
It
men.
was
But
Rene Russo. It was Rene
yes,
Russo's character
yes,
in Melt, because they were
yes,
the way they would shoot people and just bounce off of each other. Yes, it reminded me of that too. And Mom, I
yes.
loved when he made the comment about 8, and she's like, "Wait, you're giving 8?" And he's like, "She just 8," and it just that whole little so,
And the look she gave him, like, yeah, I see you.
and it
It
was
was
just
awesome.
that was so cute. I love that scene so much. And I'll just say my other favorite scene was the end with the whole Jadis and the cat. Like, he's negotiating for guns. First, Rick said, "Just give us back 10 of the guns." And then Jadis asked for the cat. And Rick just turned back into Murder Coat Savage Rick. Like, the audacity of this woman wanting Michonne's cat back. And he was like, 20 guns and we keep the cat. I was just like, he's going to kill her now because she wants the cat. Like, I laugh and love that scene so much. It was just, Rick was ready to go off the rails. And Swan, what about you? What was your favorite scene that we haven't discussed yet?
Man, like you and I were talking about it earlier, just like how cute Rick was after, like, just like, yeah, when he like did like the whole proposal to her, and how cute and hesitant he was, as if she'd say no. But also just like when he hands her like the bag of chili mac, and it's just like chili mac and cheese together. Like, he's just I just love seeing stuff when Rick is like playful, and it's always when he's with Michonne, because you don't really get to see that often. Like, you got to see him like be all playful and like, what was it, like 6:15, trying to get her to like stay in bed instead of going and helping Maggie. Yeah,
I
so
do. I
cute.
love playful Rick, and it is rare. And I'm sorry, there's no one else. I've never seen Rick smile like this. It's only with Michonne and vice versa. I've never seen them this happy, or this other side of the characters so playful and in love. It's only when they're together, and it's beautiful and sweet. Candy, what about you? What was your another favorite scene of yours from Say Yes?
I like the scene, the failed car thing, and I love the nice line delivery of "It was a great plan." She kind of sounds like half frustrated wife who's amused that her husband plan didn't go well. Like, he told her not to call the plumber because he can fix it himself, and then he makes a bigger mistake. I really love that scene, and I also like the shooting when they were on the roof shooting. And Rich is so proud of her. I kind of wish he would have kind of went behind her and positioned her, and then they fall with him holding her, fall through the roof with him holding her.
That was funny. And that scene was great, because when they fell through and all you heard was they're like laughing and giggling, like, it was so funny. I mean, there were so many great and fun scenes, and their chemistry is electric. I mean, somebody made a comment about how many people can say that their couple's chemistry is just popping when one's in the car and the other's in the trunk. Like, their chemistry is just unmatched. And Autumn, what was your favorite?
Well, my favorite scene has pretty much been said because I loved them all. Everybody said my scene. But I'm going to add one more, which is the scene, drama, when we thought Rick was dead and she rushes into his arms and you can hear her sob a little bit. And what does Rick do? He still grabs the booty. I laughed so hard. That was so funny to me. I'm like, you really, you can't resist. You can't, like, come on now.
In Rick's defense, he just also had a near-death experience, Autumn, and the booty consoles him.
Comforting.
It's like a teddy bear or Linus with a blanket. He needed that grab to suit his
He was just trying to not drop her. He needed an extra firm hold. That's all.
After
man is
all
a
the
man.
emotion, she's sobbing. He just can't resist. He's got to feel it up a little bit, just a little bit.
Swan just called Michonne's booty Rick's stress ball. I don't know. But
I
It
can't.
probably is. It's like a magnet at this point. Like it always finds her butt for some reason.
That wasn't in the script. I know that was not in the scripts. It couldn't have been.
it's a
It
calming
could-
influence. I'm telling you, it's like
Grabs
mice.
Denai's butt. Like,
And it was like, let me improvise a little bit.
Oh my God, I just thought of my next. I need to talk to CB. She's got to make me a side-by-side gif of Linus with his blankie and Rick holding Michonne's butt.
That's right.
Tommy. So, we're at an hour, and we really didn't get a chance to talk about tonight's episode, Bury Me Here, but it's kingdom-centric. We know that Morgan, Ezekiel, Carol, the whole Kingdom gang is back. Their previews and also the title alone sounds like it could be a little depressing. I'm going to take a minute to do a quick round robin. Anybody with thoughts on tonight's episode or what you're looking forward to? Mama, go.
I'm looking forward to Morgan and for him to get a lot of shine in tonight's episode.
Awesome. How about you, Candy?
I'm looking forward to Morgan too.
All right. Autumn?
A little bit of Morgan and a lot of Ezekiel.
I'm looking forward to hopefully having better CGI Shiva back. And what about you, Swan?
Same with everybody. I'm just excited for the characters. Like, I'm excited to see Morgan, Ezekiel, Jerry, sweet boy.
All right.
Jerry.
Well, oh yes, Jerry. I love Jerry. Ezekiel just needs to be a little bit nicer to Jerry.
Jerry's-
No, I like it.
When Jerry's like, Jerry always goes overboard, and Ezekiel's always like, Jerry.
Oh, Jerry. I love it. Don't change it. It's hilarious.
I need a Jerry following me around when I'm like pissed or happy. Look at her,
He's
she's
like,
pleased.
he's like trying to fix your hair, and you're like, Jerry, that's enough.
Well, thanks everyone for joining us, all the people that listen to us live, and all the people who actually look for us when we take a week off. I didn't believe we have a handful of fans, but we do. So thanks for joining us. I hope you enjoyed tonight's episode, and we will be back. Have a good night, everybody. Enjoy the episode.